Hey everybody, Eric here with today's video. Many of you know that if you follow me or have seen some of my YouTube videos, whether I post them on Facebook or Instagram or Blue Sky or on my YouTube channel, that I ride public transit in Charlotte, North Carolina, whether that be the bus or the light rail or the streetcar. I utilize all three versions of public transit. Well, the public transit has been in the news a lot lately. This video is the subject of a program that was just voted into place by Charlotte City Council last Wednesday. It is called the Fare Modernization Program. The aim or the goal of the Fare Modernization Program is multifaceted. It is to do a fare cap, um, change how fare is paid, bringing into place technology. But there are some negatives in this program that are hidden under the positives. And that's the subject of this video. So let me key some of these up. Just a second here. I thought I had this set up um, when I actually started recording. Just give me a second here. And unfortunately, I still don't have my editing software ready yet. Just a couple of more seconds, and I think I'm ready. Let me get that back. And there we go. All right. Again, apologies. So this is the CATS website, Charlotte Area Transit Systems website, where you can go to charlottenc.gov/CATS. And a lot of this information you can just use a search and put it in there. So again, the Fare Modernization Program. And so this talks about this particular area on here talks about simplified reduced fare application. With the requiring reduced fare customers to apply and register with CATS to use electronic fare media, CATS will explore ways to simplify the application process and make it easier to apply. Currently, you have to go down to the transit center, and depending on what you are applying for, you can get a transit ID. What I don't like about the transit ID, though, is that while it does have your picture on it and your name, it has your full residential address on the ID. Why that's on there, I have no idea. In the age of identity theft, I have no idea why that's even on there. How is the bus driver even going to know that you live where that address is? I mean, what's the purpose of it? But anyway, but you have to get a transit ID if you're going to get a reduced fare pass. Because once you scan or submit on the bus, the automated system will say, please show ID. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Well, actually, no, let me just say it now. And you're supposed to display your pass, your ID, to confirm that you, in fact, are either a senior, disabled, a student, um, and there are a couple of other ones. But generally speaking, the bus drivers, for the most part, can't be bothered to even look at my ID, much less look at me when I'm coming on the bus. And some of them just wave me on. And I've addressed that with cats. And as I've said in my jobs, talking to friends about their jobs, talking about policy and policies in general, if if you're not going to, as long as the policy is in place, then stand on the policy. But if the policy is arbitrary, instead of just dismissing it or having subordinates not doing their job as they were hired to do, remove remove the policy entirely. Just don't even check IDs anymore, which is ridiculous. So anyway, um, the the other thing that's in here that it talks about are, and I'll bring this back up now that I have the page up. So essentially, the premises of this program is to modernize, simplify, and grow ridership. And these are some of the ways. So it's talking about new ways to pay, new ways to buy the fares, additional benefits, electronic validation, a simplified fare payment, electronic management of reduced fares, expansion of reduced fares, and other reduced fare programs. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to click on other reduced fares, and we're going to talk about this right here. So it was reported by WSOC and other news stations ahead of the voting of this Fare Modernization Act last week that on average per year, CATS loses about $5 to $6 million each year when people don't pay to ride the rail or the bus. And so I'd always scratched my head when I started using the GO line, which is a streetcar that runs from Johnson C. Smith through town, through to uptown, and to the Elizabeth neighborhood, that the Gold Line is free. You don't pay a fare. Well, they're bringing the fare to the Gold Line at some point, which is only fair. You have to pay on the other two lines. Why not on this one? But anyway, but again, because people don't pay, CATS loses $5 to $6 million in revenue every year just on fare loss alone. And I will link that report in the description of this video. But let me get back on point. And so when I saw this piece down here, and they were talking about this on the news, I don't know whether City Council was asleep at the wheel or if they actually knew in its entirety what they were voting on. And so this piece down here, which says CATS will increase the senior age threshold from 62 to 65, providing consistency with other transit agencies. CATS is only required to offer reduced fares to seniors ages 65 and older. The senior age threshold will increase each year until it reaches 65, maintaining eligibility for currently eligible seniors. Well, that's not exactly true, because on their Facebook page and in the news that I got alerts on, that age change is supposed to take effect January 1st, 2027. Next year. Not being gradually done. The other piece to that being that's not true is that they're going to provide consistency by doing that with other agencies. Now, I'm not going to assume that people who write these programs think that the people who ride the system is just going to take their word for it, that that's true, and that is a valid reason to take these people off the rolls. So essentially, what that means is currently, if you are 62, 63, or 64, and you are receiving the reduced fare as a senior retiree, you don't pay $88 for a monthly pass. And I'm using the monthly pass as the example because I buy a monthly pass every month. And yes, I get the reduced rate because I'm 64 and I started using the senior discount when I was 62. And so I would be one of the ones who would go from paying $44 a month for a bus pass to $88 a month for a bus pass until I actually turn 65 next year, and then I can go back to um, paying the 50% discount. Now, I tried to research to find out how many people are listed and have the senior designation to get the reduced fare price. That information apparently is not public. I can't find it anywhere on CAT's website. I can't find it through a Google search or anything like that. But I'm sure it's not just me. I ride the bus every day and I hear that alert, please show ID. And I'm looking at the people that is asking show ID. And I know for a fact that they have the senior designation. What I don't know is how old they are. But again, you're going to make these people pay double when you're not doing anything about losing the $5 to $6 million each year because people aren't paying. The people who are paying, you're going to make them pay double. Now, um, a good friend of mine uses this phrase, and I'm going to start using it too. You know, my mother did not raise a stupid child. Her child has done some stupid things, but she didn't raise a stupid child. I can think for myself, and I have maintained my critical thinking. How is making people pay double going to fix the loss of $5 to $6 million a year for people not paying? Again, you are going to make the people who are paying pay double by taking them off the senior roll, which has nothing to do with the people who are not paying. Again, make it make sense. I'm not asking a lot, just make it make sense. But I'm not going to wait on that. I'm just going to call it like I see it. City Council made a mistake. They were wrong in this. That piece should be removed from the Fare Modernization Act. People who are currently getting that discount, it's not their fault. The policy was in place. Oh, and I didn't even show you. I'm going to bring this up to let you know that that statement about it providing consistency with other transit agencies, I just did a simple Google search. And my question was, what is the definition of a senior citizen bus rider in comparable cities across the US? And this is what it came back with, and I'll show it to you. Across US cities, the definition of a senior citizen bus rider typically falls between 60 and 65 years old. Again, between 60 and 65 years old. Local transit agencies determine this eligibility with exact requirements for reduced fares and specialized services varying depending on the region. So, no, no. CATS is not doing this to provide consistency with other transit agencies. They're doing it because of money. But let's continue. Let's continue on this. And so, um, let's continue on this. And so, what is happening is decisions are being made that are affecting people's lives. And we're talking about two different groups of people. We're talking about people who pay and people who don't pay. And what is happening to the ones who pay does not balance out the ones who don't pay. And so that's the subject of this video. Now, as of this coming Wednesday, July 1st, the control or the jurisdiction of the CAT system officially transfers from the City of Charlotte to the new Metropolitan Public Transit Authority that was created based on a vote that happened last fall when the PAVE Act was passed. It is a 29-member authority that will now be over CATS. You can view their board meetings. They have their own website. They have their own YouTube channel. Actually, I think their meetings are streamed under the CATS YouTube channel. But that's MPTA, Metropolitan Public Transit Authority. The 29 members of this board were chosen. Certain number of seats were filled by the City of Charlotte. The municipalities that surround Charlotte, like Pineville, Matthews, Huntersville, Mooresville, Belmont. I think Belmont is included. Other small cities, Mint Hill, they have representatives on this authority, and a certain number of seats were filled by items that were filled by the state. And so this authority will now have jurisdiction, and they've been taking the last 6 months to get their infrastructure in place, to get their budget in place, and the last meeting that happened was early Tuesday of this week. Everything should be in place now for them to hit the ground running on July 1st. Now, part of that Modernization Act is that they are going to, the MPTA has been approved to spend $5 million on hiring non-security ticket verifiers. They're going to start on the train, but these ticket verifiers will be on the trains and on the buses. But they're going to start with the trains. And there's a reason why they're just not going to be deployed throughout the whole transit system. It's because, and how do I say this delicately? A Ukrainian immigrant whose name is Irina was murdered on the Blue Line. That is a fact. She was murdered for no reason by a homeless guy who got on the train and didn't pay, and he was mentally incapacitated. Saying that she was transmitting bad vibes from her brain to his, trying to control him, and he stabbed her. That's what put the spotlight on Charlotte's light rail in the news, and it was politicized. Her death was weaponized. But that happened last fall. And so all the spotlight and all the spotlights will have been on the train. Now, I can tell you, a few times, I have had I think twice this year from January 1 up until today, I have had two, twice my electronic pass confirmed. And the second time it was confirmed, they asked the question. I had my earbuds in and I didn't really hear them. And then I turned around when they were asking other people. So I said, "Did you ask me about my pass?" And she said, "Yes, but I saw it." So usually I have it up, and I'll just show it to you. I have it up. Um, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it is, that's the app right there, Cat's Pass. Yeah. Um, and that's what it looks like. That's my bus pass right there, and it says I have 4 days left on this pass. So I would just open this up, QR code comes up, and I just scan that on the scanner, and then I'm done. But you don't do that on the train. There's nothing for you to scan. But they just want to see that you have a valid pass. So right now, that is done by security personnel, and I don't think the police ask to see your passes. They're just on the trains now for security measures, and they don't ride the whole time. And I can tell you, they don't check passes all the time. And the interim CEO, Brent Cagle, says that they do not check the passes all the time. But I've also seen them hand out tickets to people who are on the train not paid. I have never seen that on buses. I have seen some security personnel on the buses, but they weren't checking fares. Now, to that end, I'm going to go back to the $5 to $6 million losses per year. Over the last 3 days, today being Friday, yesterday being Thursday, and the day before that being Wednesday. Just so y'all know, I take the number 13 in my neighborhood to get to Beatties Ford Road, and I'll either pick up the number 7 if it's going to come within 10 minutes, or I will just take the number 13 all the way to Sugar Creek Bay and just pick up the train going southbound to go downtown. But the number 13 and the number 7, all 3 days, when I got on a bus and I got ready to scan my pass, I was waved on because the scanner wasn't working. It either was broken or it was offline. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't pay, because I did. As I showed you, I bought and paid for my pass. But along those routes, there are still people who pay cash to insert their dollars and their change to get their one ride and then transfer. They couldn't pay. It's not that they didn't want to pay, they tried to pay, and there was mechanical failure. Now, I've reported these issues on two cats every time I get on a bus. If the cord bell that I pull doesn't sound, that's a mechanical issue. The driver may get an alert to stop at the next stop on their screen, but that doesn't mean that we can hear the bell and there's a marquee there and a voice activated system that vocally says stop requested, and the marquee says stop requested. I have seen it not work more times than I've seen it work. And so I've reported those because sometimes the bus drivers don't know. Um, most of the buses now have the internet connected to the buses so that you can go online on your devices. I have gotten on buses where that has not worked. And usually when that doesn't work, you can't see the bus on the app. And so I've reported this multiple times. And if they are not going to fix the buses so that it can accept the paying fares, that's money that they're still losing. And again, I go back to making people pay double is not going to solve that. Either hire more mechanics to fix the buses or trade the buses in and get the new buses with the new technology. You're going to get money from the pay of that because starting Wednesday, July 1st, the 1 cent sales tax goes into effect. Sales tax in the Charlotte region will go from 7.25 cents percent to 8.25%. And that 1% money is supposed to go into the account for transit, for buses and rail, for streets, and for roads and infrastructure, all connected to public transit, nowhere else. And so City Council needs to be called out. They need to be called out because they didn't catch this. And one of the things that I'm going to do is appear at an MPTA meeting, and I'm going to talk about this, that this information is not entirely true. And actually, I'm going to go back to this and show you where I was talking about that it says providing consistency with other transit systems. That's not true. Where did I see that? Yeah, so here's how other cities define that. Common age thresholds by city. Age 65 plus or higher. Major metropolitan systems like the MTA in New York City, subways and buses, the CTA in Chicago, the metro system in Minneapolis, and the LA Metro require riders to be 65 to qualify automatically for senior discounts. Age 62 or higher systems such as the New Jersey Transit, bus, rail, and light rail, SEPTA in Philadelphia, and lo and behold, here it is, Charlotte Area Transit Center, CATS, in North Carolina, allow riders to qualify for reduced senior fares starting at 62. There is absolutely no reason that Charlotte CAT system should go from 62 with comparable cities its size to these cities and their size. It all comes down to money. That's what it boils down to, money. They're asking retired folks to cough up more money. Let that sink in. Make that make sense. You're asking retired people to cough up more money. And again, I will ask them, make it make sense. And so that's what the subject of this video is about. They're wrong. They're wrong. And they need to hear from people who use the system that they're wrong. Because the majority of the people on the MPTA, they don't ride the buses. They don't. Some of them might ride the rail occasionally, but they don't. They don't. They're just using their expertise to get this information up off the ground. Because they didn't just get put into those positions. They had to lobby to get on those positions. And I can tell you, I know one of the people that's on the authority, and he singularly is the only person on that 29-member board who uses public transportation on a daily basis. So from my standpoint, if you're going to make rules about a system, at least use the system that you're going to make rules about. Make that make sense. Thanks for viewing. Like and share. Even subscribe if you want. I try to do at least one video a week, sometimes more than that. But another one is coming to talk about the political issues that have happened this week as well. I might do another one tonight, or I might do a couple of them all over the weekend. But take care. Heat is coming. It's that time of year. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.